From the Zora to the Rito to the mountainous rock-eating Gorons, The Legend of Zelda is full of different races and people groups, all with fully fleshed out backstories and significance to the world around them. It's one of the reasons why these games are so beloved and captivating to delve into, and for the last 3 years, Breath of the Wild's release has spiked interests in Zelda across the entire gaming community, which is awesome. With talk of the Sheikah, Gerudo, and the mysterious Zonai tribe at an all-time high, it's easy for some to forget about one of the most mysterious people groups ever to grace a video game, especially for those whose first Zelda game was Breath of the Wild. The race of people with the most shrouded background that may be connected with the fearsome Gerudo tribe is none other than the Twili from Twilight Princess. As we delve into the origins of the Twili in a partially historical and partially theoretical video, which I find myself doing more often recently, I'm humbled to present my friend and fellow Zelda YouTuber, the Hyrule Gamer, who'll be helping out with this one.
Hey guys, Hyrule Gamer here, and I just want to say how honored and excited I am to be back on your boy MaskedNintendoBandit's channel for another video.
Don't forget to check out the partner theory to this video that's live right now over on his channel featuring yours truly. And by the way, as always with theory videos, please be expecting possible spoilers for multiple Zelda games. But with that out of the way, without further ado, allow us to humbly present the fate of the Twili.
In the game Ocarina of Time, which you may or may not be familiar with, the game ends a couple of different ways. There's the adult ending, which takes place when adult Link defeats Ganon and seals him away in the future, and the child ending, which takes place when that same Link travels back in time to regain his lost years. He is then shown to immediately go to see the Princess Zelda, who I'm sure he had several topics of discussion to go over with. You know, like saving the world or hopping back and forth through time by way of a magical ocarina. But fast forwarding to the next game in the series, no, the next one, tells us something about what happened after the credits rolled in Ocarina of Time. The Gerudo king Ganondorf was sentenced to death sometime between the events of the two games. The most likely reason for Ganondorf's death sentence would be that Link and Zelda were able to somehow convince the King of Hyrule of Ganondorf's ill intent. Although, this hasn't been officially confirmed anywhere. But either way, Ganondorf's true intentions were exposed to the Hylians, and without wasting time he was subdued and brought to justice. However, when the sages followed through with Ganondorf's execution, he was able to survive his impaling blow by the power of the Triforce within him, and actually break free to kill one of the sages, the Sage of Water. The remaining sages, acting quickly, decided unanimously to exile Ganondorf to the realm of Twilight indefinitely, taking the Sword of Six Sages with him. But let's hit pause right there for a second and answer a couple of questions about this whole situation, such as the site where Ganondorf was banished from and how this cursed location came to be.
Ganondorf was banished at the peak of Arbiters' Grounds, which is a giant Colosseum-like prison built to hold Hyrule's cruelest enemies, or so that's what the Hylian history books say. Actually, I made an interesting theory the other day that ties in very well to this one regarding the Arbiters' Grounds. Feel free to check that out via the link in the description below, or the card on the top right of the screen if you want to dive deep into the origins of this creepy prison. In a nutshell though, the Arbiters' Grounds, which is located in the Gerudo Desert by no simple coincidence, was built on top of or around the ancient spirit temple of the Gerudo tribe. There is much evidence to support this that I go into more so in the video I've just mentioned, but the reasoning behind its construction is perhaps darker than one would expect, and this is where we delve into more speculation than fact. In the years to come following the events of Ocarina of Time, speaking from the child timeline perspective, since Ganondorf, the leader and king of the Gerudo people, was revealed to be an evil spawn of Demise's hatred toward the goddesses, the Gerudo were most likely seen as enemies by the Hylians, and either after a war or simply under decree of the royal family, were imprisoned in the very same Arbiters' Grounds dungeon we see in-game. It's important to note that the Arbiters' Grounds seems to favor Hylian bricklaying construction as opposed to the concrete or rock-favoring Gerudo construction, which aids the theory as it implies that the Hylians' purpose in constructing a large prison on or around Gerudo holy ground would most likely mean contact with the Gerudo people. The Gerudo were then banished to the Twilight Realm by way of the Twilight Mirror within the Arbiters' Grounds, as the Hylians believed this would solve their little demise problem. So okay, that's pretty crazy to speculate about, right? But why were they banished? And how many of them? Surely not all of them were banished, right? And where's the proof for all of this?
We'll answer those questions in just a bit. But while there may not be much evidence to the Arbiter's grounds being a prison for the Gerudo, besides some very minor architectural clues, the notion of the Gerudo evolving into the Twili race has much more we can delve into, specifically in the character designs of Midna and Zant. For those who played Twilight Princess to its completion, one of the rewards for completing the game, besides that awesome sense of satisfaction you get from finishing a Zelda game, is that you get to see the real, humanoid form of the little imp that's been flying by your side for the entire game. Midna's actual form is tall, beautiful, and bears some striking similarities to the Gerudo race. The most obvious to point out would be the colour of her hair and eyes, which of course have been visible for the entire game previously, but something about her true form brings them to light even more. Her fiery red hair is the most obvious similarity to the Gerudo tribe, as their race of predominantly women features predominantly red hair, as well as the red eyes, which are a very similar shade to Ganondorf's eyes. Her ornamental forehead jewellery is also similar to that of Gerudo royalty, most notably seen being worn by the Gerudo king, Ganondorf. Her clothing is also strikingly similar to the clothes and sashes that are worn by Gerudo women as seen in Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. But the real striking proof is evidenced by Zant.
Zant, the would-be king of the Twilight people, has some admittedly pretty interesting fashion decisions, and while his appearance may not be as strikingly similar to the Gerudo people as Midna's is, the symbol on the front of his clothing bears incredibly strong resemblances to the Gerudo crest. As you can see, it's not an exact copy of the Gerudo crest, but it's more similar to the Gerudo symbol than any other emblem across all of the games. Trust me, I checked. It's entirely possible and plausible that the Gerudo people who were stripped of their previous identities and who have now become the Twilight also evolved their crest as the years went by. Now, of course, this is attention grabbing and may even be convincing by this point, but there's one glaring point against this entire theory that threatens to shut it all down. Enter the interlopers. The interlopers, who were never actually seen in game, but rather just simply represented in a dreamlike vision by dark links, were banished to the Twilight Realm for wielding magic that defied the goddesses, and are also credited with being called the People of Midna, as Ganondorf seems to imply in this cutscene. Now, since we know not all of the Gerudo were banished to the Twilight Realm, since the Gerudo obviously make a huge appearance in the future game Breath of the Wild, I present to you this idea. What if the interlopers were members of the Gerudo faction who were banished to the Twilight for their arrogance against the goddesses, and these dark magic wielding Gerudo were the ones that the Arbiter's grounds was actually built to house until their banishment? We already know that some of the Gerudo practice dark magic, as evidenced by 2 witches from Ocarina of Time and even the wizard Aghanim, who, by the way, has a pale bluish complexion to his skin. What if the interlopers were Gerudo witches or wizards who were banished for their transgressions? That would explain why the Twilight bears such striking resemblances to the Gerudo with their clothing and symbolism, while also explaining why they're still around to make their huge appearance in Breath of the Wild.
Furthermore, Midna states in-game that the Twili's true king, the one who reigned before she and Zant had their spat, was lost due to greed. This could absolutely be a reference to Ganondorf, the king of the Gerudo, who was obsessed with his greed for the Triforce and consequently stripped of honor and sentenced to execution. Zant also worships Ganondorf as a god, which is explained in Ocarina of Time by speaking to a gossip stone to be something that his most devout Gerudo followers did as well. So let's see, if we combine that the Hylians constructed the Arbiter's grounds, the design choices of the Twilight, the interlopers' shrouded identities, the Gerudo's dark magic, the history of their fallen king, and their worship of Ganondorf, the evidence seems to point to the Twilight being, at least partially, of Gerudo origin. But after the credits roll, then pause and show Midna returning to Twilight just before shattering the mirror for good, then keep rolling. What happened to the Twili?
Princess Zelda makes a comment in Breath of the Wild that alludes to the knowledgeable existence of the Twilight Realm, meaning the Twilight are still out there, somewhere, in a world shrouded in twilight. You can't help but ask the obvious question, could we be seeing their return? And what would this mean for the present-day Gerudo? Is Midna still alive? If you'd like answers to these questions, make like Midna and flip to the other side of this coin. Just don't shatter the mirror, come back here afterwards. Check us out in Hyrule Gamer's alternate theory over on his channel featuring yours truly live right now. And also, let us know what you think of our theories in the comments below. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, it was an absolute pleasure to work with you again, Mr. Hyrule Gamer.
Again, thank you all so much for having me. It's been a blast to work with Bandit again, and be sure to go check out the video we did over on my channel covering the possibility of the Twilight Realm ever returning to the Zelda series.
Huge thank you as always to my fantastic patrons, who I wouldn't be able to do any of this without. If you're interested in getting your name up here at the end of each of my videos and some exclusive perks coming soon, follow the link in the description below to find out how. Also down there are links to my social media pages, so come on over and say hi to me. What are you waiting for? Remember to like this video if you enjoyed watching and subscribe for much more Nintendo content to come. That's all I've got for you in this one, so as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is MaskedNintendoBandit signing out. Peace!